Today I'm sharing some beautiful nature-inspired Christmas ornaments for this Christmas in July series. For this project, I am going to be using this pine cone. It's a ponderosa pine cone. I've got some Spanish moss and a branch. I am using a branch that's got lots of little forks jutting out from it. I'm going to cut it down to size. As you can see, I am wanting it to fit on the top of this pine cone. So I needed to cut it down so it fit really well on top. I did forage both the branches and the pine cone for this project. I'm going to attach this all together using a glue gun. So you want to generously apply some glue at the touch points between the branch and the pine cone. I will be holding the branch in place till the glue sets. In the meantime, I'm just adding a few other extra little pieces to create a really nice natural look. Now, once the glue is set, I'm adding some additional glue over top just to help make sure that it's nice and secure. I decided I'm going to use a tin can here that my pine cone fits in. That way here I can be hands-free for this next part. I want to create a nest on the top of this, so I'm just going to wrap this Spanish moss in and around the branch on top of the pine cone. Now I actually do have another tutorial on creating bird's nests that you can use for the Christmas tree. So I'm going to have that linked down in the video description box, as well as some other Christmas in July DIYs that you may want to check out. So I'm just going to continue to add the moss and making sure that it's all intertwined around the branch like you would actually see out in nature. You know how birds intertwine the grasses and whatnot. I have got this cute little bird. I would have preferred a red cardinal, but this is all I had in my stash, so I decided just to use this cute little guy. Use some glue and put that in place. Now I'm going to be using this faux evergreen, and I'm just trimming it down into smaller, more manageable pieces, and I'm going to glue that into place and have it poking out from the nest. Just a little tip for you, I actually get those trees from Dollar Tree, those little tabletop trees, and I use the greenery off of that for different ornaments and arrangements that I make for the Christmas season. So it's a really affordable way, and you get a lot of greenery to use for different crafts. So I'm just going to continue to add those little branches, and then I am now going to use this frosted flocked greenery that I picked up from Michael's at the end of the season. That is a great time to pick up a different greenery, and then you can just put it aside and save it for the following year. So I'm just going to cut it down into, again, a more usable size for this piece. And I will be using hot glue. And again, I'm just going to have it poking in through the nest to make it actually look like it's growing in a tree. I have recently did some garden inspired ornaments as well. I'm going to have that video linked down in the video description too, if you like more of a gardeny look rather than more of a nature rustic look. But I'm telling you, I think this is turning out so cute. I really like this. So here's another little bit that I had foraged. It's these tiny little pine cones. I'm going to just snap them off, and again, using my hot glue gun, I'm going to tuck them in around the branches and the nest. You could add little berries or some ornaments. Some little bells would be cute too if you want a bit more of a really Christmassy touch. But I don't know, I'm thinking these little tiny pine cones tucked in there look so cute and is perfect for nature-inspired crafts. So I did decide to use these little faux berries that I had. They came off of another faux leaf bush that I had, and they're kind of like a really delicate green color, so I thought that they would be actually a really pretty touch. Dollar Tree has pip berries on a garland. Those would be really pretty tucked in around here as well. Just dig into your stash of some supplies and see what you can find, or check out craft stores and dollar stores. I actually really like to try and get things that is just everyday items and craft with those, such as this bird here. I'm attaching some jute twine to create my hanger, and I'm tying it on either end of the branch. But before I fully commit to the opposite side, I am going to make sure that it's balanced, that I'm tying it in the right spot on the opposite side. And Then I will tie it on, and I will add just a little dot of hot glue to help secure the knot onto the branch, as well as prevent the knot from coming apart. I love to craft with pine cones. I would like to know the different types of crafts that you have made by dropping me a little comment down in the comment section below. I think this turned out so cute, and again, I'm going to have another bird's nest tutorial for you down in the description box to check out. In the springtime, I had these little peat pots that I got from the dollar store, and I had covered them with birch bark that I had foraged. I decided I wanted to turn one into a Christmas ornament. I'm using an awl to poke a hole on each side, and this opposite from each other, and that will create a hole where I can put my twine in to create a hanger. A little tip, I like to add some tape on the end. That helps the twine to thread through a lot more easily without having to thread it onto a needle. So I'm just going to pull that through, and then I'm going to tie a knot off on the one end, and then I'm going to pull it tight on the inside. That way here the knot is hidden. Of course, do this hanger any way that you'd like. I am going to make sure that it's really nice and long, and then I'm going to thread the other side. At this point, I wasn't sure how long I would actually need this, so that's why I made it extra long, so it would hang longer than what we actually are going to need. I pulled that knot tight once I had it in place. I'm adding a little bit of hot glue on either side of the inside and pulling the knots into that glue. That will help to hold those knots and prevent them from coming apart. I had this little scrap of dry floral foam that I'm going to use. I'm adding some hot glue, and I'm just going to put that into place into the little peat pot. And now I'm going to be using this preserved reindeer moss. I love using preserved reindeer moss, especially in this pretty green color. You can get this at craft stores as well as dollar stores. You can even get it online. I'm just using some hot glue and my scissors, and I'm going to press it down in around the foam, but I'm being careful not to cover up my foam too much at this point. I love using bottle brush trees for my Christmas crafts, so I thought it would be cute to create a little forest scene in this little peat pot. So I'm just removing the bases off of these bottle brush trees. I'll get them from dollar stores, craft stores. I usually pick them up at the end of season at Michael's when they are on clearance. So just again, keep that in mind. So I tested the tree out, this bigger one out on the foam, and I discovered it didn't go down in far enough. So I trimmed off a little bit of the branches, and then using some hot glue and removing the bases off all of our little trees, I'm putting them into place on the foam. This tiny one is actually from Dollar Tree, and I like the color contrast and the texture contrast between them all. Again, that's like a cute little forest scene right there that you would actually see in nature where all the trees are different. I'm adding a little bit more of this moss just to make sure that the foam is all covered up. Now I'm going to go ahead and add some of those little pine cones that I had foraged. I thought it would be a really nice natural touch to this forest scene. A little bird tucked in there, a little woodland critter would be really cute. You can add some faux snow if you'd like, anything to decorate this, again, to make a cute little wintry woodland forest scene. So once you have everything in place, you can test out your hanger to see if it is too long or if maybe it's long enough. And then you can cut through the loop, and you can then adjust it and tie it off accordingly, so then you have the length that you need. So mine here is just way too long, so I did have to snip it, and then I tied a knot off where I actually did feel it was the right height. So you can see me doing that right here, just a simple little knot, and then it's ready to be hung on the tree. I'll have the tutorial on how I covered this little peat pot down in the description below. So I had a few people request that I do pine cone crafts. So I'm showing another one. Here I'm again using a ponderosa pine cone, but this is a smaller one. I am using my wire snips because it's got a nice pointy end, and I'm cutting into the middle because I wanted to remove the pointy end of this pine cone. It does take a little bit of muscle work and a little bit of wiggling. If you have another suggestion on how to do this, please leave that in the comments section, because I admit I struggled a little bit with this, but I did manage to cut through it and it popped off. Now I'm just going to clean up some of the debris, and then here you're left with the base of the pine cone. I got these little stumps from my local dollar store, and I am going to just pick one out that I feel looks best as a stem underneath this mushroom cap. That's right, we are creating a cute little mushroom ornament, and I thought that this would look so good together, a great nature-inspired craft. I'm using twine again because it's a nice natural looking string, but if you don't like twine, then please use anything that you like. I'm adding a dollop of hot glue to the top of the pine cone, and I'm going to push the knot down into that glue, and that will help to just secure that knot, and you've got a great hanger. Next, I'm adding glue to the underside of our pine cone mushroom cap, and I'm adding our little branch, and I'm going to hold it till the glue sets. I decided I'm going to add just a little touch of moss underneath. I wanted a bit of that nice pretty green contrast, and that also helps hide any of the mess that I may have made from cutting the pine cone, as well as any of the hot glue that may have squeezed out from the stem. I am also going to add just a little bit of the moss to the bottom of the stem. You know how when you are out in nature, when you're looking at mushrooms, they're kind of dirty on the bottom, and they are often growing up out of grass or moss. And I thought it would be kind of a more natural look if I added just a little bit. So you can see I'm just taking my glue gun, the nozzle, and I'm kind of going up and down just a little bit just to create a bit of variation around the base of the stem, just to create a bit more interest. But that's it. It was so easy and fun to make. I made these dried orange slices last Christmas. So again, I will have that video tutorial for you down in the description box below. I have a selection of some dry elements that I had foraged, as well as grabbed out of actually my kitchen cupboard. I grabbed these dried florals from my front yard. I'm taking my awl and I'm just poking a hole through the top of the orange slice. And then I'm taking my jute twine and I'm going to fold it in half, put the fold line through the hole, and then you'll have a little loop on the one side and pull the tails through that loop. You want to tie the two tails into a knot at the top, and then you've got a nice little hanger. I think it looks great. So now I'm going to start to decorate the front of our orange slices. Again, I've got a different selection of some like dried elements. I have little pieces of birch bark. I have this star anise that I got from my kitchen cupboard. I also have some dried pearly everlasting. I had that pressed in my flower press. I also have some moss, faux evergreens, branches. All you want to do is just start to, before you glue everything down, layer it up to come up with a design that you like, and then you can start to glue things into place. That's how I typically do it. If you're confident in your design, then of course start to glue right away. Sometimes it takes me a little bit, so I like to lay everything out to give me an idea of how this is going to look, and then I will go ahead and start to glue everything into place. So I usually like to use some really good quality faux evergreens as well, so keep that in mind when you're creating stuff like this as well. I have this dried pepper that I had grown along with some some preserved reindeer moss. So I'm going to combine those two. I thought it would be a nice contrast, especially for a Christmas ornament. Again, I'm just using my hot glue to put it all together. This one is really simple. Now I'm using more preserved reindeer moss along with some of the dried seed pods that I had from my front yard. And I'm also going to be using some foraged branches, pine cones, just use whatever you have that is a really nice and natural look for these ornaments. I think they turned out beautiful. They would not only look good on a Christmas tree, but it would also look great on a package. You can make a set of these and give them away as a gift. I think these are great and they're very, very affordable. These would make a really great Christmas craft for kids to make as well. I can't wait to hang these up in my tree at Christmas time. They turned out better than I had hoped. I've got so much more Christmas inspiration for you to check out here to the right. I want to thank you all so much for joining me today, and we will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.